Well, so, he was from a large family. And his mother died very young, and his daddy married 5 times.
Really?
And he left home when he was small to get work, And,
Do you happen to know what his parents' names were?
no, I do not.
So you never really had
No.
much contact with him?
Never
Well,
had.
obviously his mother died early, so.
She married very young, and I don't remember anything about my parents on my father's side, and very little about my mother, because they was died. I mean, they died when I was so young, because I was a family of 9, and I was the youngest. I was a baby, and I lived with my mother and my Beulah and family until I married.
Do you have any special memories or vivid memories about your parents or grandparents? Anything out of the ordinary?
No, really, I don't remember, because I guess I was only 2 or 3 years old when my grandparents came on mother's side. We went to visit them one time, but I can just vaguely remember. I remember she was wearing that day a long black dress with a black bonnet, But I was so young, I don't remember anything else about it.
Well, what about the most special memory about your mother?
Well, I have a lot of memories.
Probably all real good ones.
She was a good Christian woman.
She's a very loving woman.
A loving woman.
Yeah.
And she was just, if she couldn't say something good about anybody, she wouldn't say anything.
That's wonderful.
She was very sweet.
See, now I remember her a little bit. I don't remember a lot. Well, tell me about your brothers and sisters. Tell me who they all are.
Well, there was 9 of us.
9 of them.
And the oldest one was named Beulah Jane. The next one was Louis. The next one was Tolly. And then, let's see, the next one was Ida. And then David, Jesse, and myself. Was that 9?
That's 7.
7? Let's see what I missed. Oh, Bella. Novella is her name. Everybody calls it. It's Novella.
Novella.
And it was Beulah and Louis and Novella and Tolly and David and Jesse and myself. Is there another one leaving out?
Somewhere. There's 9 of you. We're leaving one out somewhere.
And Tolly, did I mention him? Did I mention him? Well,
That's
there's
hard to
9.
keep up when there's 9.
When there's 9 of them. And I was the youngest. It's kind of hard to remember the older ones.
So you're the youngest of the group.
I'm the youngest of the 2. I'm the 9.
And out of all of you, there's just you and one brother now? And
Yes.
who's that?
Tolly.
Tolly?
And he's 89.
And I remember him, tall fella,
Yeah.
and just snow white hair,
Yeah.
right?
Snow white hair, and he's a big bone fella. All of the Pattersons were large bone, not fat, but just large.
Right.
My daddy was that way. And mother was always real thin and tall and slender. But there wasn't but one in the family that took back up to her, and that was Ida.
Is that right?
She was tall and had dark hair, just like mother had dark hair. I took back after Daddy's feet. I was a blonde, heavy, big bone, just like Daddy's, all the other children.
Well, tell me something about how you met Patty and something about your dating.
Well, I was staying with Oma Pearl and Edgar Moody, keeping their little boy, which he was 3 years old, Charles. And my mother and Miss Gamble was always real close friends. So I was staying in Franklin with them, and Mother was staying up there that day. And Miss Gammon called and asked if she always called her Lou. Said, Lou, y'all come out tomorrow and spend the day with us. And they said, okay. So she sends Cager up there after us. And when he got out of the car, he was very handsome. And we went out there, and he went on back to work. He was cutting wood. And And when he got back down there, he told a friend of his, said, I don't know, he cussed back then, he said, I don't know who the hell that girl is, but she's gonna make somebody a damn good wife. You know, it's just what he says. And about 2 weeks later, he come by and asked me for a date. So
How old were you then?
I was 17.
And how old was he?
He's 4 years older than I
Okay,
am,
so he's maybe 21.
21.
So he asked you for a date, huh?
Yes. And from that, we were together for a year and then
Well,
married.
where did you go on your first date?
Well,
Do you remember?
I don't know. I guess it was a movie, because that's about the only thing we knew to do, you know. And in the meantime, we were dating, and he went to Michigan to work up there with his sister Debbie. And when he came back home, he didn't let me know he's home until he drove up out in the yard, and I looked out and saw him, and I opened the door and started running, and he started running, and you know. So in the next, let's see, we met in September, not the next April, but the year after that.
So
we married.
somewhere around 34 you met?
Yes.
And married about a year later?
We
Or?
married in, actually, Kay was born in 34. We
Okay.
married in 34. And then we were married a year when Kay was born. 2 years.
And what was your wedding date? What day?
It was on April the 12th.
April 12th, 1934?
And she was born on the 9th of April, 2 years later.
1936.
Yes.
Well, after you got married, tell me about where you lived and what kind of work you did.
Well, we moved in the house with his mother and daddy. They were, him and Katie was very close, and he was the only boy. 4 girls and 1 boy. And we had, we just lived together. We lived 16 years together in the house
16
with
years.
his mother and daddy. And she loved me and treated me as a daughter. We always got along. We never had any disagreements at all. Whatever I wanted to do was all right with her. And it was a happy time living there with him. But then Kay come along, and she worked for Kay, his Cameron's did, and I went to work at the shirt factory to help make a living. And I worked 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, and brought home $5. And but that $5 then was be worth $500 now, you know, compared to what you had to pay for things. And she kept Kay. And Kay would say, you're my mommy, but I'm going to see Nanny. I said, Mammy, I'm going to see Mammy. She wouldn't have too much to do with me. But she said loved me, but she always loved Mammy. It was Mammy this, Mammy that. But we lived there all during the years until Terry was born. We still lived there with us.
Well, did you go somewhere else before that, maybe out of town?
Oh yes, we went to Michigan when Kay was 3 years old.
And you took her with you?
Yes.
And how long were you there? And what
We
did you
were there 16 months. We went there, he went and stayed 3 months, and he wasn't going to take us on account of Mr. and Miss Gammons loving Queso. And, but he couldn't take it without us. So one Christmas he came home, him and Duddy and John, and got Kay and I, and he had rented a little 2-room apartment. And Miss Gammons had cried, and she had cried, and Mr. Gammons the day we left, till they thought he was going to have a heart attack. Or we're giving her up. So Coach said, well, Daddy said, I'll send them back every month. And we rode the train backwards and forth. And it got pretty hard.
Yeah. Now, why did you go up there, though? There was a reason for that,
Yes.
wasn't there?
To pay for the home.
Because was that during the Depression
Yes.
time? So you had to go up there to help save the farm? is
Yes,
that
I was about to lose it.
right?
And he stayed up there 16 months and made enough money to pay the farm off.
Oh, wow.
We lived very close. And in the 2-room apartment, we didn't have much room for Kay to run. So I'd take her out and walk every afternoon. And I always would walk to meet him. then he could off and work.
What kind of work did he do?
He was in the defense factory making airplane motors.
Mm-hmm.
He made good money and we saved it. Then we came home a month before he did. And we paid, our rent then was $10 a month in that apartment, two-room apartment. And we had no car. We just more or less lived together and didn't do much.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we just saved the money and came home, paid the car off. But anyway, I didn't know, I knew he was coming home, so I didn't drive at that time. Mr. Gammons and I got in the car and went and met him. And he come home and he said, well, what would you give for my right leg? And I said, what? I wouldn't know what to say or what right leg. Well, he had it all in $100 bills in the bottom of his shoe. I think it was $3,600.
Wow.
And he brought it home in his shoe to pay for the bond.
Saved the farm.
So then we started farming and I went back to work and Ms. Gammons kept for she works at the brand Terry walked on. I mean Kate. And I worked at the shirt factory and he worked on the farm and we kept it going. And then when Kay was 8 years old, Terry was born.
And what day was that?
It was on March the 2nd on Kate's birthday.
And what year?
Let's see, he's 48. That would be 46, I believe, wasn't he? Yeah, I can't know. It's in the 40s.
Okay.
But anyway, he's 46 or 48. I don't remember right now. But anyway, when I got pregnant with him,
Probably 48.
Miss Gammons said, now, you can have him. I don't want nothing to do with him. So, when he was born, that was all it was in her heart, was him. And from the time up till she died, Terry and Kay was her love.
Mm-hmm.
She had other good grandchildren, she loved them, but nothing compared to what she did to him. And I went back to work then after Terry was born and had to make a living, you know. And she kept, when Kay was in school, I worked as a cleaner at that time. And we had also built a little house down there. After,
You moved out with him?
yes, that's where Kay met Jim, is when we moved out in the house. And I went back to work and we paid for that little house, but I can see Ms. Gammons now, just, she'd come down through the garden, she'd begin to, you know, get old, and she would always come down there after afternoon to see me and the children. Of course, they stayed with her.
Well, that wasn't far, just
No.
down the path
No,
between
but
the big
she'd
house
always
and little
come.
house.
And she would, after we moved out, she would always let me plan the meals. She'd say what we're going to have on weekends, you know. And she'd come down through there and say, I'm going to have a preacher Sunday. Will you tell me what to cook? And that kind of irritated some of the other girls. But she did. And we lived there, I don't know how many years, till she'd become ill. And of course she died with cancer. And we stayed in the hospital with her, I think it was 6 weeks. And I worked every day, and Petra worked every day. We would work till 5 in the afternoon, get ready and go up to the hospital, stay till 1 in the morning, and drive home, get to bed and get 2 hours sleep, and get up and milk the cows, and I'd go to the cleaner to work, and he would go to the farm and work. So it was a very hard life. We lived a hard life, but a happy life.